All right, Esther. Fun book. Really fun book. Really fun. Um, it was a really good read. Um, Fun fact. I don't know if it was designed as such, but not once in this entire book was there a mention of God. Not one time. So, but you could see God at work and doing so in the presence and in the spirit that he gives the people and the works of good. And there's a lot of cause and effect. There's a lot of you do good, you get good, you do bad, you get bad. But, you know, it was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. Story kept me at the edge of my seat, and it was really cool. So there was this king. I don't know how to say his name. Zerzek, or Zerzek, Zerzes. I don't know. The king was. It started with him throwing a banquet for his people. Apparently, it starts with the royal people and then one for the remainder of the people. That lasted 180 days and then 7 days. And mark that seven. Um, just to display the opulent wealth of his empire, and and um and then I found your cat, Mom. I found Hadassah. That I thought your cat was male, but Hadassah was actually Esther. Was She was a lovely young woman named Hadassah, also known as Esther. Um, so the, I wrote a little note the beginning of lots of mistakes in life because they put he wanted his queen to come out and flaunt her beauty to all these folks that he made this banquet for, and she refused to come out. She was doing a banquet of her own, and like every good egotistical man that made him mad, so he sat down with his council and decided, what could we do about this? What does the law say about this? What's the cause and effect about this? And do I take revenge upon her? So they think about it and they come to the conclusion, you know what, if we set this precedence, women from all over are gonna, you know, just revolt against their men and do as they wish, and men will no longer be respected, and that's just not. You can't set that precedent, Your Honor, King. So he's like, okay, let's banish her. Let's, you know, the punishment is that I shall never see her again. She's no longer the queen. So in this decree, he also put, he sent out a letter to all the parts of the empire, to each province of its own script and language, proclaiming that every man should be the ruler of his own home and should say whatever he pleases. So it was his fault. His fault, all these issues for the remainder of history. It was because of him. Because he said the man is, even though the woman actually got more brain cells. I was just listening to a video that the woman literally has more brain cells, and this guy was trying to prove that wrong, and he just kept on finding the validity of it and justifying why women can actually multitask and man cannot. Man can only do one thing at a time. But yet, proclaiming every man rules his house. We all know who rules the house. We all know who's boss. Anyways, so he basically throws actually his people come up with this. His attendant comes up with this idea of bringing all the virgins together, kind of like a beauty pageant, or when you go to a mistress house and they got all the women there and like pick, but with a bunch of virgins. And and you know, Mordecai. This is the first time that Mordecai is mentioned here. Is a cousin of Hadassah, of Esther, and I think her family died or something. Her parents died, and he adopted her into the family and raised her as his daughter. And he tells her, hey, hide your identity, your nationality, actually. Don't be saying that you're a Jew. These people are not Jews, but if he picks you for to be in his grace, you can have a really good life. So she was beautiful. So he did, take her, and he got her 7 maids, number 7 that keeps on creeping everywhere. He got her 7 maids. He had her live somewhere in the palace. And he kept her around, like she was like one of his concubines. But eventually, on his 7th year, 7 of a reign, he was so delighted with her that he set the royal crown on her head and declared her queen. And then he had this guy. Oh, you know what? Over here. Okay, I haven't passed it, but I didn't highlight it, and that was a pretty important part. Mordecai overheard some guys in the king's gate. 2 of the kings, what they call eunuchs, which I believe they're kind of right hands to the king. They're high people up there. Maybe I don't know that 100%, but in the context that I read that word, is usually some of the people closer to him. But they were plotting to kill him, and Mordecai overheard this, and Mordecai, told somebody. Mordecai heard about the plot and gave the information to Queen. She then told the king about it, and Mordecai got credit for the report. So he told her, and to look out for the king. And one thing led to another. The king was able to impale the 2 men. Impale is a word that goes on in this book. You just get the visual of impalement. But that's just the word that they use. So I guess you could picture this story a little bit more. So Mordecai, gets credit for it, but nothing else beyond that. And he worked amongst the people in the kingdom. And then Haman was this guy. He was like the king's right hand man, and man, everybody used to bow down to him except for Mordecai. Mordecai refused to bow down for whatever reason. It could have been his ego. It could have been he didn't like him. It could have been that whatever. And Mordecai got, his friends kind of instigated it about, this guy, he doesn't bow down to you. Is that okay? And he's like, no, no, it's not okay, you know. And I don't, I'm not gonna make him pay. Let me, you know, how you make somebody pay? You make him the downfall of his family. As a matter of fact, let's make him the downfall of his nationality. He's Jewish, right? All right, let's I'm gonna go to the king and see if he'll allow me to do a decree to just annihilate all the Jewish people because of Mordecai. That that's a sweet revenge right there. That would boast my power. That would show my power. And they got a lot of property and a lot of goods. And if I could write this decree right, whoever kills these Jews, they're entitled of whatever goods the the people that they killed. You know, yeah, I will be loved. I will be looked up to, and I will be feared. So, um, so they go about that, and then there's the famous word Purim, and I can't readily decipher this, but I get the point. There's these lots that were cast, and these lots are called Purim. So there's two things that kind of come to mind with that because they're making a decision, and they use these lots, these Purims, to make that decision. So to me, it could be dice, that perchance come up with the answers that they look for, or it could be kind of like hopscotch, where because literally, Purim lots literally means pebble. So it could be like hopscotch, where you throw this rock to a wall and it bounces and it lands on one of the decisions that you're writing the decisions in these little boxes, and you throw this pebble, and wherever it lands, that's where you know regardless is what perchance the decision is going to be. um, so so that's what the Purim is, and per doing that, they decide that March 7th of the next year, it's when they're gonna go after these Jews. So on April 17th of that year, the secretary writes the whole decree dispatching that, you know, um, all the Jews, young, old, including women and children, must be killed, slaughtered, and annihilated on a single day. This was scheduled to happen March 7th. I didn't catch that it was very specific about on a single day, because later on we look at that it's actually 2 days that the Jews do their thing. Maybe the Jews were just trying to get one up. So when Mordecai finds out about this, Mordecai, obviously goes to Esther. It's like, man, you gotta help me out. This is beyond wrong. You're gonna have to go to the king and, as the queen, try to figure it out. And she's like, man, you know that everybody in the province knows that if they appear to the king, um, without being invited, you could die. Like you're basing, basically doomed to die unless he holds his gold scepter and invites you in. And he hasn't even invited me in for 30 days. So, I mean, I don't want to put myself in jeopardy. And Malachi's like, man, what if this is the reason that you was made queen? You know, nothing is perchance, even if there's cast and lots and Purim, nothing is perchance. Maybe this is the reason that you was made queen, is to save the Jewish people. And she's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go talk to him. And if I die, I die. You know, if that's what's gonna have to happen, then that's what's gonna happen. So she goes, and you know, she stands in his in the entrance of the inner court, and the king lifts up his scepter and goes up there. Come in. And she comes in. He's like, "How you doing, my queen? What request do you have? No matter what it is, even if it's half my kingdom, I'll give it to you." And she's like, "If it pleases the king, let the king and Haman come today to the banquet I prepared for the king." My clothes in the dryer already. Better hurry it up. But there's such a good story. Um, and he's like, "Okay, let's do some drinking." So they drink some wine, and he's like, "All right, all right, all right. What is it that you really want? Even if it's half my kingdom, I'm gonna say yes. Tell me." "Oh my lord, just you know, let me throw a banquet for you and Haman and come over." And he's like, "Okay, you know, let's go." So so Haman feels, very, he's just an egotistical power trip man, and he's like, "Yeah, she invited me and the king, to this banquet. Pretty awesome. I feel pretty good." He's bragging about the honors the king have given him, and how he had been promoted all over the nobles and the officials. And guess who sees at the gate? He sees Malachi standing at the gate. And he tells his wife, I think he tells his wife, it's like, that son of a biscuit eater, man. That guy just really turns my knob. I'm already gonna kill all his people, but I'm just sicking with him. So I believe his wife says, is it his wife? I don't know if it's his wife. I mean, make stuff up, but he does. Oh yeah, so Haman's wife, Zeresh, and all his friends suggest to set up a sharpened pole that stands 75 feet. I'm in the fourth floor. That's pretty high. 70 feet. That's crazy high. 20, 40, 60. Yeah, probably almost to here. And in the morning, ask the king to impale Mordecai on it. When this is done, you can go on your merry way to the banquet with the king. This pleased Haman, and he ordered the pole to be made and set. So, the king, right after that in chapter 6, the king is trying to go to sleep, and he seems to be restless. He can't sleep, so he asks his people, "Hey, could you bring me the book of records? Will you read to me? Read me a bedtime story from that book." And they read to him, and they read the part where Mordecai saved his life, and he was just like, "Wow, such a person should have been given honor. What did we do for that person?" And they're like, "No, we didn't do anything for them." He's like, "Really, man? Like he should have been honored, more than just given the credit." So he calls Saman. Saman is like, "If somebody was being honored by me, for doing A, B, and C, how should we do that?" He's like, "Oh, Who should be honored more than me? But if you was to honor somebody from the kingdom, you know, I would say you give them one of the royal robes. You let them ride in one of the horses that you have ridden yourself. And I would parade them all through the empire, through the towns, you know, saying, um, saying, it was something saying, okay, man, so bring him to me, attend the king, Haman, the core, should bring one of the king horses that have been written. Let the robes and the king be handed over to the king's noble. Have the officials shout, oh, this is what the king does to someone he wishes to honor. And the king says, excellent. Go grab Malachi and do it to Malachi. Yes, your king. Yes, your majesty. So he goes. He does it. And yeah, so ah, so he's completely embarrassed afterwards. He goes home. His wife is like, man, you know that Malachi is of Jewish descent. Your plan is just not gonna it's not gonna work out now. He's humiliated. Suresh and all his friends and his wise advisors, and his wife says, since Mordecai, this man who has humiliated you, is of Jewish birth, you will never succeed in your plans against him, and will be fatal to continue opposing him. So, they go to the banquet later on this second occasion where they were drinking wine. The king again says, tell me what you want, Queen Esther. Tell me, what is your request? I will give it to you, even if it is half the kingdom. Queen Esther, she knew what she was doing. Replied, if I have found favor with the king, and if it pleases the king to grant my request, I ask that my life and the life of my people will be spared. For my people and I have been sold to those who will kill, slaughter, and annihilate us. If we had merely been sold as slaves, I could remain quiet, for that would be too trivial a matter to warrant disturbing the king. Who would do a thing? Who would do such a thing to touch you? Said the king. This wicked man, this adversary, our enemy, Haman. Haman is growing pale. Oh my God, don't do this to me. And the king is mad. The king runs out of his palace. And Haman throws himself on the couch that Esther is reclining on, begging for the life on the couch, on her couch. And the king comes in. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you going to really attack Esther, my queen, in the palace? And he's like, no, I'm not attacking that. Here comes one of the king's guardsmen and covers his head. And we all know what that means. So guess what? You remember that 70-foot stake outside? That rod? It got used to impale him. Cause and effect. You do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. So that's what happened. So then he's like, what else? What can I do to you, my queen? I'm so sorry this happened to you. What could I do for you? She's like, If you have found favor, if I have found favor in you, please delete, reverse this whole decree against my people. And he's like, I can't. I mean, I could do anything for you, but remember that whatever has already been written in the king's name and sealed with the signet ring can never be revoked. I'm sorry, but you could write a new decree. As a matter of fact, Malachi, come here. You're in charge of Haman's property, and as a matter of fact, I took this ring that I had given Haman as the high marshal, and 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 here it is. You can have it. You can seal the decree. Just make a new decree. So the king's decree gave the Jews in every city authority to unite and defend, and that decree was written by Malachi. Um, and that's how Purim came to be. Purim became the day that the Jews were able to defend themselves, and they did. They sure did. The day came, and the Jews, just there in Susa, in the fortress of Susa, they killed 500 men, and they also killed Haman's 10 sons and impaled them. There's the whole impale again. They impaled them, and on a pole, all 10 bodies. Like, ugh, you know. Um, and the king tells her, it's like, man, if they did this just in Susa alone, he's Jews. Is there anything else I could do for you? As a matter of fact, there is. Let me do this again tomorrow. Let the Jews have tomorrow. So that piece I didn't really get, because the whole thing was for one day, but I guess they wanted to up one, and they had already, let me see, it was a huge number that they had already taken down. I don't know where it is, but it was a lot. And but 75, killing 75,000 of those who hated them. One thing that they did mention a couple times, there and when they killed the 10 sons, that they did not take any plunder. The whole thing was, you kill the Jews, you plunder, you take their property and whatnot. They did all this and they did not take any plunder. And that's how the festival of Purim came to be for 2 days. And it was a whole decree written by the queen, and Mordecai, the Jew, became the prime minister. And this is how it ends. It's the prime minister with authority next to that of King Xerxes himself. He was very great among the Jews, who held him in high esteem, because he continued to work for the good of his people and to speak up for the welfare of all their descendants. Reminded me of Ezra, and reminded me of Nehemiah, Moses, just those people that really led for care and concern of their people. So that was really cool. That's how Purim came to be a festival, a Jewish festival, and of course, I mean, I skip a lot of specifics on why it's held in such high esteem, and how the queen vowed to never forget and never let the Jewish people forget, and whatnot. So, really cool book. What I got a lot of it was cause and effect. You do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. There's always a way. There's always a best move, no matter how cornered you feel you are, never lose hope, and use your resources, use the people around you. You may not have an upper hand, you may not have favor with people, but you may know somebody that does, and if we all do a little, no one has to do a lot, and kindness and being nice, you could get your ways, you know. So there was a lot of great lessons in this one. I really enjoyed this one. This is where the stories, and then one of my favorite books is coming up next, Job. This was a very long story, and it's a really good one. Here's where a lot of the parables start really taking place.